Alright, here I am discussing my final ethics paper. I chose the topic of minimum wage, anchoring and increasing that rate to just above the level of a poverty line for a family of 3. And that would be with one adult working in this family of 3. So just to go over the basics, some of the numbers. Current poverty line for a family of 3 is $19,790. Our current minimum wage at $7.25 per hour would only earn you $15,000 gross income in a year. So in order to get above that poverty line, I chose to work with a new minimum wage that would be $9.62 per hour. That would bring us up to just over $20,000 gross income per year. So I do believe that this is something that needs to happen. With the rate of inflation we get on a yearly basis, there is some fluctuation. I mean, it goes up and down, but ever so steadily has just continued to increase over time. Since if we look back to when minimum wage was first established, I believe it was like 25 cents an hour. So clearly we're a long ways from that, and we just continue to go up and up. But I was able to online find a inflation calculator that gave you a really good clear idea of just what exactly we're looking at with the rates of inflation, and dollar for dollar what those dollars compare to, say, a 1994 dollar versus a 2014 dollar. So punching in some of the numbers, a $7.25 in the year of 2009, which was the last time that the minimum wage was increased, and to that rate of $7.25 an hour. If you then compare that to the year of 2014, it would actually equal out to $8.02, which means what you could buy in 2009 for $7.25 would now cost you in 2014 $8.02. So it's getting more expensive, our cost of living. If we compare that to minimum wages, say from 1994, if we go for our 20-year comparison, the last time the minimum wage, when the minimum wage in 1994 was $4.25, to type that in and compare that to today's dollars, again, for 2014, that would only equal out to $6.81. So it's fairly close, but still falls short of even what we earn as a minimum wage now. So it's pretty clear from those comparisons, those numbers, that our minimum wage does not increase equally to our cost of living and those expenses. When we're looking at minimum wage increase, again, looking at the poverty line, you compare the family lifestyle that can be achieved at $15,000 or even $19,000 versus just over $20,000. I think you'd see a huge difference in that $5,000 range. What you could do with $5,000 more dollars in a year. If we look at a potential budget for a family of 3, earning, if you have to spend $200 a month in groceries, $600 a month in rent, phone and internet bills, those can vary, and not everybody has those. But if you try to make those an unnecessary part of your lifestyle, I mean, you've got little more than $100 left in your budget to work with. And this doesn't even include a car. And again, we're looking at the rate of $7.25 as the current minimum wage, and you're making that $15,000 a year. You have barely enough to get by. And even if we take out those extra, what we may not consider absolutely necessary expenses, say like for phone and internet, it's still wouldn't be enough to give you enough money to pay for a car on a monthly basis. And maybe some don't even consider that a necessity either. But I guess in the climate where I live in North Dakota, when you have winter 9 months out of the year, it kind of seems to be a necessity. Not everyone can depend on the bus schedules. The buses don't even always run. I mean, due to a lot of times our inclement weather, and people are still expected to get to work in those times of inclement weather. So it is very very helpful to have your own transportation. Um, I mean, when you think of a family, that maybe doesn't have a car, it doesn't mean that they can't function without one. As again, you can use a bus or ride from friends or carpooling, what have you. But it would certainly add to the family's overall happiness and sense of freedom, and with their ability to get themselves from point A to point B. If a family cannot afford just even these basic necessities, or what I would call even secondary necessities, phone and internet access and a vehicle, you certainly can't expect them to be a happy and functioning member of society with with the limited resources. It's hard to get by nowadays, especially with all the technology that is I don't want to say required, but it kind of is required of us. I mean, even for this class, this online class, I was required to have a laptop computer, which ironically enough I had just given up to a family member because I hadn't seen the need for it. I have two tablets now. I have an iPad and I have an Android. And those seem to suffice to get me by through everything that I've needed thus far. But um, it's something that's definitely ingrained as a part of our daily life. Needing to have a phone or a computer or internet access. I mean, some jobs you can't even apply for unless you go online. They don't carry paper in-store applications. Like Target would be a good example. So some of those bigger stores, bigger franchises that they do provide the computer there for you, but you're not going to find a paper application to fill out. So it's hard to get around the not needing those as what I would call secondary necessities. Um, so if we look at raising the minimum wage, the federal minimum wage, to that rate of $9.62 per hour, who is going to benefit from that? And I've done my research on the Bureau of Labor Statistics website. They gave a really good article on breaking down the demographics and showing you exactly in each category what percentages of each of those categories are people that work at a minimum wage rate. The most prevalent of those categories was age. The age of 25 or under represents about 20% of the entire minimum wage earning population. Any of the other categories, when broken down into ethnicity, marital status, education, industry, occupation, and the state of residence, all those each would only amount to about 10% or less in their respective categories. So when you're looking at minimum wage workers, of course, besides the one occupation of working in a restaurant, where we all know the standard for minimum wage as a waiter or waitress is less than that of the hourly wage given for most every other job. So when we look at these 25 and under, a lot of times you think